Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Hey there, bold leaders. This is Tara Newman, your host of the Bold Money Revolution podcast. And today I am here with the Alfred to my Batman.
I like it.
I'm here with the Alfred to my Batman. We are here with Stacy. She knows where the bodies are buried. Harris. Hey, Stace.
Hi. I feel like that should be my official tagline in our about page. Inside of the Bold Profit Academy, we have that meet the team article. That needs to be worked into there. I like it.
She knows where the bodies are buried.
That may or may not be because I helped.
I've reflected a couple of times in the last few weeks around how long you and I have been sidekicking it.
We've been together a while. You might be my second longest relationship in my life. I mean, we're practically married at this point.
I do call you my
Charles and then you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like it. We've been together a while. And speaking of being together a while, I'm excited because we're going to tell one of my favorite stories today.
Okay.
Which is when we started working together in closer to the capacity we work together now. And we launched what would become the Bold Profit Academy. So we're going to tell that story, but we're also going to talk about how you make decisions and how we make decisions about what goes into the program and what supports business owners, because we, as you've been talking about on the show, are moving through some economic turbulence right now. Will be for a while. And so I think this is really a really powerful conversation to have, because I think there's a lot of people making these decisions right now, but there's also a lot of people looking for support and wanting some clarity around what's inside the Bold Profit Academy and what that looks like. And so I think this will be a really good space for us to talk about those things. Are you excited to talk about those things with me?
I am. I think this is a behind the scenes almost, because we talk a lot and we message a lot on the higher level things that we know people are looking for. We've studied our target market. We understand them very well. We understand what their journey has been to this point. And we talk a lot about that. And we talk a lot about the problem set that this group of people experience, energy, mindset, strategy wise, so they know if they're ready to enroll in the program, so they can make a decision about, is this the best program for them? Is this the best program for them now? And those are really high level, in their language, meeting them where they're at, tangible, transformational things, right? But then there's this whole layer that happens underneath that, which is our deeper why as a company, our deeper commitments, how we're making decisions that we just don't share that much, because I don't know how quote unquote marketable that is, or how much people care. I mean, I do think that people care. I think they're going to find this podcast incredibly interesting, but I also know that, we all have a lot of decision fatigue, and I really just want to give people the information that they need to make the decision, whether or not this is for them. But sometimes the behind the scenes actually helps people make a decision too. So,
well, what I like about it is we're going to talk a little bit about how we make decisions. And I think that is sometimes the most helpful, because you can maybe see a different way to make a decision. You could maybe see a different data point than you're looking at now. And I find that that's really helpful when I'm in decision fatigue, is to just change the way I'm making decisions, change some of the ways I'm filtering information. And so that's what I'm hoping people will do as they move through this conversation. I want to take us back in the time machine to start.
Way back, June 2018.
Which feels like prehistoric at this point.
Well, it's 4 years ago, but yes, it does feel prehistoric. And there are two
it's the before times.
There are two, at this time in my life, in my business, it will be at this point in 2018, it'll be almost 3 years since I had left corporate. The business had been running for about 3.5 years at that point, almost 4, because I had left corporate like 9 months after I started the business. Still in the very, very, very beginning stages of trying to like figure out offers, figure out target market. Let's be honest, I really didn't even gain that much clarity around my target market until maybe like 9 months ago. You know, that's just how it is, folks.
I was going to say a year, but
8 years in, and that's how it is. Like, that's reality.
I'm 11 years in, and I still changed I learned something new about them every year.
As you should, which is why, you know, that's what we teach inside the Bold Profit Academy, is that this is ever evolving, and understanding your target market and recalibrating your target market should be a business habit that you do on a regular and ongoing basis. But anyway, I just want to set the stage. So it's June 2018, and two things are happening simultaneously. I'm hiring Stacy and Lane because we're growing separately. I'm like Stacy Lane combo. Stacy had been working with me more on an ad hoc basis, but we were putting her at this point on retainer to handle the podcast because I had edited it. I had been editing it too, no avail. And the podcast we had started almost a year prior. And then simultaneously, you know, for those of you who ever hear me talk about my dad, who has agreed to come back on the podcast, by the way, and maybe do some fireside chats inside the Bold Profit Academy. Told him he's a celebrity, that the women inside the Bold Profit Academy want to learn from him. He's very excited.
He kind of is.
Yeah. He's like such a character.
He'll love it.
He's totally excited. So I had gone for breakfast with my dad in June of 2018. And it was like one of these, we do this pretty frequently, but it was like this transformational moment in the sense that anytime prior to this that I would see my dad, the big joke for me was like, he's going to grill me about whether or not I'm saving for taxes. This was his big thing. Like every time he saw me, he's like, are you putting enough away for taxes? And I'm like, finally, I got sick of it. And I just sat him down. I was profit firsting at this point. And I'm like, let me walk you through the strategy, my business, the profit first, how I know what I'm saving the right amount, like all the components. I was so proud of myself. I was like, and at the same time, I admitted to him, because he says to me, wow, he's like, you know, how did you learn all of this? When did you get so, you know, proficient at the business finance, the money, the strategy, like all of those pieces? And I said, well, for the last 3 years, I've invested probably over $100,000 into my own growth and development. And I was terrified. I thought he would just lose it. At that point, he said to me, well, as you should, because he comes from a manufacturing background. And he said, well, technically you're the machine. And he doesn't mean that like I'm the machine, I need to be a machine, but like he had money being invested into machine equipment, that kind of stuff, large employee workforce. And I didn't have that. So he's like, of course you would invest. That's where your investments would go. And I was so proud. I was like, he's on board. He's validated my investments into myself. And then he says, you know, the economy's about to collapse, right? We got a recession coming. I was like, picture yourself rebelling against your parents at like 16. Like I'm full in my Doc Martens with my flannel and my ripped jeans. And
in fairness, that's not dissimilar from how you dress now.
I know. Because 16-year-old Tara was a badass, and I'm always trying to get her back.
I'll be honest, 16-year-old Stacy dressed much better than 25-year-old Stacy dressed.
And so I was like, stop. I was like so angry at him. I was like, stop. Like, I cannot go down this anxiety rabbit hole right now. I'm not seeing anything that would lead me to believe that. And he's like, well, just get your ducks in a row. And my dad, he's always like, be aware of your surroundings, watch your six. Nuts. Watch your six. And I was like, I was like, fuck you, Dad. And thank you. Right. Because then I go and I'm looking around and I'm like, I really don't think, so I said to him as I'm leaving, like when you turn on your heel and you're like totally drama teen age, and I turn on your heel and you have to have the last word. Right. And I turn on my heel and I say to him, well, if that's true, I can't think of a better person to be supporting small business owners through a recession than me, who weathered the Great Recession and went bankrupt because of it, because I know what to do and I know what not to do. And I huffed off.
Nice. You showed him.
I'm going to show you. Right. And I huffed off. And the Brave Society was born because I was like, okay,
it was.
So if we are going to get a recession, I thought it was going to be 2019, 2020. But I was going to start preparing well ahead of time. And people are like, how do you know to prepare these things? Because I have a father who is like a doomsdayer. That's how I know how to prepare for these things. And I said, okay, I'm going to create a program that is going to support women through any economy. I'm going to compile all the things that I know. I'm going to bring them together in community, because that's the one thing you need during that time is other business owners around you. And I'm going to make it the antithesis of these high ticket group programs that don't really deliver much. And I'm going to make it very easy on people's budgets. I'm going to make it very, it's going to be profitable for them, because, they're going to need something that allows their money to stretch a little further. And what I found as well is that even at this point in 2018, people were showing up on my digital doorstep, so to speak. I like that, digital doorstep. And they were already overspent. Stacey's just shaking her head. And that was
true. I remember this so clearly.
They had spent $30,000 on branding that didn't yield revenue as it shouldn't. They, were overspending on advertising, websites, marketing, built, all that stuff. And so a lot of them started coming and joining because it was a place where there was some level of quality being delivered that they could recoup their money that they had spent. And then they started working with me one-on-one because they did so well in that program. So that's really how the Brave Society started. But there's the story of how it really got started, which I'm going to pass the mic to Stacey, because this really speaks to, and I hope that everybody listening to this really sees me in Stacey's story very early on. And because I know some of you who might just be listening now are just seeing what my business and what my brand looks like now, or what I look like now, or, what's happening now. But we all put our pants on one leg at a time. And so I hope that when you hear this story from Stacey, that you see that we're all the same. We all have our fears and our foibles and our blind spots and all those things. So Stacey, the story.
So not long after this conversation with your dad, I remember you and I getting on a conversation and you were like, Stacey, I figured it out. I know what the group program is going to be. We need to bring these women together as a community. We're going to give them these tools. We're going to call it the Brave Society, because ever in love with an acronym.
Yes, that's me.
It was the Brave Society. And for the life of me now, I can't remember what Brave stood for, but we'll think of it.
Bold, resilient, abundant, values-driven, and endurable.
Nice. Ever in love with an acronym. So we come together and we start outlining what this program is going to look like. We figure out when it's going to open. It's going to open in August 2018. And I go to work. Now, I feel I should mention that at this point, Lane and I had not met or had any conversation whatsoever. Tara and I, at this point, have worked with each other for about 3 years in different capacities. We know each other very well, there are parts of Tara and I that are very similar. There are parts of Tara and I that are very different, and those parts complement each other very nicely. But one thing that she and I have in common is when we decide something, we just sort of run with it. Contrary to maybe what's happening around us or the people who maybe need to know what's happening.
I just remember this part of the story where Elena's like, wait, are we launching?
Yeah. So I go to work. I go do the things I need to do to get this program out into the world.
Unbeknownst to me.
Yeah, I hadn't actually looped anyone in. So you had made all the decisions you needed to make. I was ready to go. So I get this message from Tara that goes, so Lane just asked me if we're launching. Are we launching? I was like, yeah, we have been for like 3 days. And that happened because people started joining.
Well, no, it's so funny, right? Like I would have gotten stuck in resistance.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I was like, let's go.
This was during the time where I knew how to do the sales things, but when it came to doing them for myself, I was in a tremendous amount of resistance and playing small and very self-protected around visibility and not wanting to be like them on the internet and like all of my stuff, which I'm sure Stacy knew. So Stacy was
hold on, I want
like
also a heavy amount of this has to be perfect so that it can be so incredibly borderline overwhelmingly valuable that there's no way they can't get absolutely everything they need right here. And we would have waited until everything was perfect and right at everything they needed. And I just ran.
So Stacy pulled one over on me. And she's like, Tara, just go on Instagram and say this. I was like, okay, I'll go on Instagram and say that. I think this was like around the time that we were just like kind of playing around with stories or whatever. And she's like, just go on Instagram stories and say this or post this and she's like,
we'll see if there's interest.
Yeah. She's like, go talk about this. And so I think Lane's watching the Instagram stories and she's like watching the inbox and she's like, are we launching? And I'm like, I don't actually know. I don't know. And then like, Stacy, are we launching? She's like, yeah, for like a while now. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, we're here now. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, sometimes that still happens where I'm like, so this is the thing here. Just go do this. Oh, it's fun. Yeah. So that's how the Brave Society launched was, it was a surprise to everyone but me. And what was so amazing about that is it was probably the only way that the Academy as it is, like the Bold Profit Academy exists now, because we started slightly before you were ready.
Yes. I agree. 100%.
Which is maybe the first factor in decision making. It's just sort of get started, because a lot of the clarity we gained in the last 4 years
100%
came because we were in it.
Yep. 100%.
Neck deep, occasionally eyeball deep.
Yes. Yes. I was sharing with a client of mine who is not in the online space, has a very traditional service business. And we were talking yesterday and I was taking him kind of behind the scenes or whatever. And he's like, this is so much work. I can't believe how much work you've put into this program. And I'm like, yes, over 4 years, it really has evolved. So for those of you who feel like you need to have the perfect idea, the answer right now, that's not really how that works. It evolves over time, and at least it has for me, because I happen to be somebody who's very observant. And so as women started coming into this program, having conversations, using the tools, showing up for calls, as you know, my business grew and I saw what was working behind the scenes from my business, I started to notice significant gaps between reality, we'll call it, and what the online business culture was teaching. And that's really where the Bold Profit Academy came into play. So about 2 years in, March 2020, less than 2 years in, I was like, this has to change, and it has to change now. I'm not comfortable with this program as it is. I don't feel confident selling it. I'm very results oriented, and I like when people have transformations, when we facilitate growth, when we facilitate women getting the results that they don't even sometimes know they want or need. And so I was like, how do I bulletproof people's results? Because that is what I find rewarding. And then how do we start to shift the target market to people who want these results in their business? And so then that's been the last 2 years, is really turning this into something that brings me the most amount of enthusiasm and joy in delivering it, because the women in there are getting the results that they're getting, and they're working on the right things. And we've solved layers of problems in there, not just a specific problem set. We're solving problems. So here's what we're doing differently. We're solving problems without creating new ones.
And I think that comes from the structure we built when we shifted to the Bold Profit Academy from the Brave Society. I think what came along with that change was some really structured curriculum. And so I want to talk a little bit about why that is the case, why we move people through quarter-long curriculums so that they have space to do things like implement while they're learning. So talk a little bit about why that was the decision maker to move through curriculum and giving them 12 weeks to move through curriculum.
So here's kind of like where we were saying the behind the scenes as to like what problems we were looking to solve. So one was I was seeing gaps in how things were being taught, how things get implemented and understood in reality versus how they get implemented and understood in the online business culture. And one of the biggest gaps are around knowledge gaps, and specifically around selling, women selling and women managing money. So business acumen and financial literacy are the two biggest gaps. And what we actually see in the online business space is a lot of tactics that allow women off the hook from learning how to sell. And what I mean by that is this concept of, well, if you just invest in Facebook ads, then we're going to deliver clients to your inbox. No, that's traffic that the business owner still needs to capture as a lead and move through a customer journey and convert to a sale. A Facebook ads person, a marketer, an advertiser doesn't do that for you. That's a salesperson's job.
We see the same thing in my space with podcasts. Just launch a podcast and then it'll be fine because lots of people will find it, without thinking about the fact that you've got to be using these tools as a conversion. You've got to be using them to nurture them through a process. We're only solving the tactic part of the problem.
Right. So they teach the online business space teaches tactics. And in the Bold Profit Academy, we teach process and system so that you can use any tactic you want, but you also know how the process works. So if your tactic stops working, you can then slide in a new tactic. Facebook ads, for example, right? Like where would Facebook ads fall in the 7 steps of a sales process? And when Facebook ads shit out and stop working, kind of like now, what would you do instead? What could you do instead? Right. And so you can start to really have command and control over your business and not be bouncing back and forth from course to course or web celeb to web celeb. The other thing is that this whole concept of selling online is very passive. Oh, well, they're just going to click a link and buy. No, they're not. Period.
Wouldn't that be so nice though?
Right. So we teach proactive sales skills, not passive sales skills. right? And there may be a time for passive selling. Most likely it's not you right now. You need more proactive sales skills. They teach tactics online that everybody uses and tries. So guess what? That's just the sheeple doing the sheep thing, right? That's not going to differentiate you or have you stand out to your customers. But we teach really competitive practices that lots of people aren't willing to do. So you're going to stand out. And I always say that in the program. And so we were looking to close some of these gaps, but we were also looking to provide a better learning experience for women than what I think they're actually getting. And I know for a fact that there are programs out there that teach what we teach that are 6 times as expensive as what we are charging. And our price is going to be going up this year. And it will still be 5 times. They will still be 5 times more expensive because we are looking to democratize business education for women. We want you, because of my background in profit first and financial planning, we want you to keep more of your money. We want you to pay yourself. We want you to get paid. When everyone's talking about revenue for revenue's sake and nobody's teaching you about profit or keeping your money or how to pay yourself, you have to ask who benefits from that. Because it certainly isn't you, right? And so how can I do that? Well, I run a very profitable business. And when I run a profitable business, that means that I could pass some of that profit back on to my customers by providing them with a lower investment point that's more appropriate for where they are in their business. So those are some of the behind the scenes. Now, as far as curriculum goes, and quarterly curriculum and live teaching and all that stuff, it really comes from those roots, wanting to provide a better educational experience for women. We also know that women and they feel a lot of pressure and they feel like it's a real heavy lift to navigate that learning curve. So this is us taking that pressure off of you and putting it on technically me in that sense, or on the both of us to hold together, because those are the things I do really well. And so the curriculum is 4 quarters of curriculum, 4 pieces of curriculum. And these are the things that you must do in your business to make money. You, period, must, period, do, period, in, period, your, period, business, period, to, period, make, period, money, period. Period. So we're solving the math problem.
Well, and in the spirit of solving the math problem, I want to talk about what happens in the first 30 days of the Bold Profit Academy, because that was something we implemented late last year, early this year, where you come into the program and we're like, how do we recoup this in 30 days? So talk a little bit about what the first 30 days in the Bold Profit Academy is built to do and why it's built to do that. Let's give them a little bit of that behind the scenes.
Sure. It's like a couple of things. So the first 30 days, my goal is for you to come in and recoup your investment in full, if not more. That would make me thrilled, right? I can't guarantee that. You have to do the work to get there. But in the first 30 days of the curriculum, you have what you need to do that. You also have access to be able to ask questions, to provide feedback, to get peer support in order to do that. And gosh, we're at a point where anybody who's enrolling now is pretty much making their money back in 30 days. Even somebody who started a few months ago, but they were finishing up, they were actually leaving their career to start their own business. They just let me know yesterday that they have proposed $20,000 worth of work, that if any part of that comes through, they would make up their investment. And some people have saved it and repurposed it. So we had somebody come in and make back $11,000 from plugging money leaks. We had somebody make back their investment by stopping like early bird pricing and really standing in their value of what they deliver and not discounting their stuff anymore. We've had people just go make the money. I've had people come in who were thinking about going and getting a job and had paid $30,000 for a program like this, make nothing, to the point where they were like, I think I need to go get a job now. make the money back. So it's there for you. And it's there for you because of women who have gone into other programs, have spent $30,000 and didn't make their ROI. It's there for the women who would tell me, I can't join right now. I'm still implementing this thing from this course I took. That's why this is an implementation container where you're implementing weekly. We're telling you, take this action, do this in your business, try this experiment. This is the activity for the week, right? And it's a 12-month program. And then I was starting to hear, well, is it going to take me 12 months to get a result? No, you're going to make your money back in the first 30 days under the right conditions, right? And you're going to be supported in doing that because that's our commitment. It's also there. So here's the flip side. Do you hear how confidently I am talking about this program? I'm thinking everybody's probably going to shake their head and say she's deadly confident about the results that people get in this program. I need to see the women making their money back, and I ideally want them to 10x their results. And we have people who have 10x their results. We have people who 10x their results with one sale. Cassie Christopher, who we have a podcast on her experience. Not only did she make money just over time, but then she made one B2B offer and made $45,000 on that one offer. So, I need to be able to go out and say, listen, this is the best program. You will get results. You are going to make your money back. And the other part of this for me is if we can get you to make your money back, I'm so obsessed with this part of the program. But if
that's why I talked about it.
I know. I'm like obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'm so obsessed with this. And we celebrate the hell out of you. Like, even if you make the $2,000 back, right? Like, we're so pumped for you to be taking action. I will never forget
going through the plugging your money leaks, because I like to go through a lot of this stuff too. And I remember doing the plugging your money leaks exercise. And I think I saved like $1,200 a year. It was not like, let me go buy a Porsche money. It was just like $1,200. And you and I were losing our minds. We were like, $1,200. Every little bit, man. Every little bit is exciting.
Listen, if you save $25, that's an hour that you can have with an executive assistant or a VA.
Yep. Yes. Being able to repurpose that.
Is
so much fun, and celebrate it.
Yeah. This is not diet. We're not trying to diet down our businesses. This isn't about restriction and cutting. This is about abundance and being in an abundant relationship with our money that we can then go take that and repurpose it. So if you go and save $2,000 and this program is costing you $6,000, that's a third of your investment recouped, right? But like, I'm so obsessed with this. So the other part of this, the behind the scenes, is that women were coming to me on my digital doorstep, traumatized and anxious as fuck from being in some of these programs,
and
where exhaust, hair falling out, shingles. I say this all the time, actually ill, but anxious,
physically, literally ill,
like so anxious around the pressure and the expectations that are put on them or that they're witnessing in these other group programs. So if I can get you to come in, here's how I think about it. If I can get you to come in and make back your investment, or as much of it as possible, in the first 30 days, doesn't that calm your nervous system and allow you to actually absorb and participate in an engaged and productive way in the rest of the program? Because now it's like, okay, well, I recouped the initial investment. What's possible for me next? What about the next $6,000 and then the next $6,000? And by the time the year is over, you've 10x'd, right? So like, I kind of think about it as universal basic income in a way. The premise behind universal basic income, I was reading this article, I think it's Finland. They give their citizens like $640 a month. Gas, groceries, like that, just get some basics out of the way. And what that does is
live money, I call it.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off. It gives them a little like ease to relax into, right? And I kind of think of it as the same way in this program is let's get you back your initial investment so you can take the pressure off, so you can chill your nervous system, so then we can really get to work and have fun learning and growing our businesses together through the rest of the curriculum.
Well, I love this. And I think about it as like, if I can get an early win, and maybe it's just the ADHD brain, I don't know, but if I can get some sort of dopamine hit of success, I am more likely to follow through. And I think that's the other thing we were seeing so often is people were spending a ton of time and a ton of money in programs where they weren't implementing. To your point that you made earlier, they were saying, oh, I've got to finish implementing this program, but they had no capacity to show up for that because there had been no signs of success there. There had been no victories.
So I've got a story of a woman who came in, not mentioning her name, and respect her confidentiality, but literally she is every woman. So she paid $30,000 for a program that was teaching her to market. Technically, she doesn't need to market because her price point is high enough. She just needs to go sell to the people who are already around her. And they were teaching her all these marketing tactics for not like the opposite of her target market. Facebook Live, Instagram, social media shit. She didn't need that. That's not, her audience is not
$27
there.
Program to $97 program.
No. And her program is not there. And it didn't feel in alignment with her. It didn't feel good to her to do. She's got her stuff. Like we all have our stuff. She's a mom. She's tired. And so she's in this program, spends all this money. I'm not saying it's completely the program owner's fault, right? I think this woman and the program owner both have some responsibility there. But I understand too how women buy these programs from a place of desperation, not feeling confident, and they don't read all the T's and C's. They don't read this fine print, and they get themselves in some trouble. And she comes in, and I'm like, listen, she has the skill set. I know what she does. She has the skill set. I know this is possible. And she's tired and she's got stuff going on at home, like we all do. She feels like a failure.
Like we all do.
Maybe she's quite, can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with women who didn't get results in other programs, who feel like failures. You're not a failure. It's just maybe not the right fit. And then she's in the program and she's still like a week or two in, she's still in her like, want. And then she starts to see the other women coming in and making back their investment. And she's starting to trust me more. And she's listening to me. And I see, and she's engaged. She's coming to the calls. She came to the new member orientation. She's coming to the money calls. Like I can see, even though it's hard, we're starting to shift perspective. Then she did it, made the money back, posted in the group. I made the money back. And I have like 3 or 4 other sales calls booked, right? Amazing. And I was so happy for her because I could feel, as the Reiki practitioner that I am, I could feel how heavy her energy was around this and how light it became after she got that win. And that's really what we're here for. Because here's the thing. Each of these quarters of curriculum, the 30-day, the revenue acceleration, the how to communicate your value and position your offer, the design your sales process to align with your values, the what the hell am I doing with my money, profit first implementation. All of those things are the things you need to master when and if the economy dips out. People will make money. People are making money. So if you're already in the economy, it's slowing down, business is slow, that is not necessarily true because I have proof after proof after proof in the Bold Profit Academy that these women are making money. Easier, they're raising their prices, they're streamlining their delivery. We just did a whole curriculum on raising prices and streamlining delivery because you have to be able to sell it and you have to be able to deliver it. And we have to bring those two components of the business into harmony. And they're making money and they're supported by each other. They're supported by me. This week we had our math, money, and mindset call. We just went through and I explained what's happening in the economy, what they're seeing in the newspaper, what they're going to see coming in the newspaper, what it actually means versus what they think it means, the work I'm doing with them, the work I'm doing with my larger clients. And they walked away and they're like, wow, we're really motivated. We're going to go create some opportunities, because now they have the tools, the competencies, the support, the skills, and it's completely agnostic of technology. And my client yesterday, who I was explaining this to, was like, what does that mean? I said, it means that I'm not a coach teaching coaches how to coach a business on Instagram, so that when Instagram bombs out, they're like, oh, what do I need to do now? No, you're going to have a sales process and you're going to know what tool you can put in there at any time.
I love that. I want to wrap us up talking about how we make decisions for how the program evolves and changes, because this is something we just did a complete article inside of the Academy. Yep. And I think this is something that is so important. Again, the kind of behind the scenes, because this was something that was really important for us to share and be transparent about inside of the community, but also was something that I think really speaks to the values and the reason why this organization exists and why this program exists. So yep. What are the things you're considering when it's time for us to go, all right, we're at another year marker. What are we evolving? What are we changing?
This program's not stagnant. We have a continuous improvement process with the team where we are reviewing and reflecting quarterly, if not weekly, because we have a suggestion, quote unquote, suggestion box, a suggestion form where people inside the Bold Profit Academy can submit feedback, because that is the first sign that you are in a cult, is when you're not allowed to ask questions, critique, or provide feedback to the business or the group owner that you're in, right? So we give you so many opportunities to communicate with us, because we
genuinely want you to communicate with us.
We want you to tell us. And so even before every curriculum rolls out, we send out a survey and we ask very specific questions to make sure that the learning objectives that we're rolling out for that quarter's curriculum are up to date and in alignment with what our community is experiencing. So this is not a set it and forget it program at all. And what happens is that we do have teams supporting on the inside, mainly Lane, Kendra, Joe's on calls with us. Stacy pops in when it's in her area of expertise, and she's required.
When I'm needed, I sweep in.
When she's needed, or when we're like, hey, Stace, can you give an opinion or something like that? But this is a group that's fully supported by my team. And I know that gets people a little antsy, because we've got basically people running businesses that don't know how to run businesses, delivering programs and creating harm, where they start a program and then they're on to the next launch, or they change the program midway through and they take things away that somebody had paid for, or, whatever starts to happen, or all of a sudden they're not in there, but they're like associate coaches are, but they thought they were going to be working with the person, right? And so my team is there to support me so I can be there for you. So they're in there holding that space to make me, so I could be actually more available. But in terms of
speaking to each of our individual expertises, you're not going in there representing that you have all of the expertises all of the time. When there is something where you're leaning on my expertise or Joe's expertise or Lane's experience, you say, hey, Joe or Stacy or Lane or Kendra are the best person to answer this question. Here you go.
Right. I think that, this person would be the best person to answer this question. So listen, and then there's the flip side of this where things break, businesses grow, and shit gets complicated. The thing you thought was going to work for X amount of people, now you have more, and now it doesn't work. That's not the problem. The problem is how you communicate and address that, right? So if people say to you, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting the experience that I thought I was going to get, and then you make it about them, that's a problem, right? So this article that we have that you were talking about is really us taking responsibility for what is ours. And so we have a program improvement section in Mighty Networks, and we talk about what improvements we're working on and what we'll be experimenting with next. We say that this is a live learning program that is built as agile and adaptable as the entrepreneurs we serve, and that we're always looking to tweak, evolve, and meet you where you're at on your journey. And these are the things we teach you how to do in your business. And so how we decide if we're going to improve something. So one, I say, whoops, we've grown and we ruptured something, right? That means through growth, something has broken and it will be fixed. It takes priority and we ask for grace as we make those upgrades. One thing that I can think of is part of that onboarding where we wanted to have we added the new member orientation. The second reason is we observed something needing to be done differently. We observed a need. The third thing, we've observed a need to make our lives easier, to deliver better support. We will never make our lives easier and your life more complicated.
Generally, I find when we do things that make our lives easier, it actually also makes
everybody else's lives easier. Yeah, it gets a better result, 100%.
Usually we're the ones overcomplicating it.
Correct, 100%. And then the fourth thing is somebody submitted feedback and it passes our litmus test, which means it passes through my owner's intent and the company vision and the mission and the values or whatever. And so that's really how we make those changes in there as our commitment to really delivering the best learning environment we can for women small business owners.
And the reason I wanted to talk through that is because in that last point you made, it goes through our own sort of filters. It's not that we are running to chase every bit of feedback and adapting based on it. It's that we're taking all of those things into consideration and making our next best step forward. Doesn't mean that new step will be there forever, but it's the next best step forward. And I don't think that we see that a lot. I think we see a lot of burn it down, build it up, burn it down, build it up. Mm-hmm. And we are evolvers. And I think that that's such a huge service to the energy of the room, which is an important component of this space that you're holding.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. As we wrap this up, is there anything else you want them to know about what was, what is, or what will be for the Bold Profit Academy?
I just really want to encourage everybody to come join us. If you listen to this and you're like, that sounds like me, I'm ready. Might be a little nervous, but that's okay. We expect that. I want you to very seriously join us.
I'm so excited. I want to know that the best way to do that is to make sure that you are on the wait list. Tara reaches out to everyone who joins the wait list. They get an email from Tara, not somebody else on the team, but Tara personally. And she really will talk to you about is this the right fit? Is now the right time? We welcome in a couple members a month. I think it's 4 members right now we're welcoming in a month. Mm-hmm. And so that's the best way to make sure that you're getting information on what's happening now and what's happening next. So make sure you go to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/academy to find that.
Thanks for coming on, Stace.
Of course. Thanks for hanging out with me. And thanks everybody for listening.
All right. Catch you on the flip side. If you've found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.